Abstract Transmissions.
And hello, thank you for listening today on Abstract Transmissions. We've got Kris Webster. He is a fellow collector of Stephen King literature and memorabilia, and he also runs a few Minuteman copy print, right? You said?
Yeah.
Franchises. So thank you for coming on today.
No problem at all.
I'm really excited to talk to you just because I haven't really got to dig into anything with a fellow Stephen King, enthusiast or reader, constant reader, rather. I mean, my friend Randy was on the show and he really loves Stephen King as well, but I'm a huge Dark Tower guy. I've physically read it twice, and now
3 times for me.
Yeah, then on top of it, I did 3 more times with the audiobook just because I could.
Oh wow!
So I'm at 5 now, and I'm just it's funny because that's what introduced me to Stephen King. I've always been a sci-fi kind of guy, and I was really kind of blown away by the Dark Tower, and I really didn't know the connections very much outside of some of the small connections that I noticed, but like there's obviously a lot bigger connections that I didn't really get until reading, because at that time I had only really read the Dark Tower series, as well as like The Jaunt and a couple of short stories, Langoliers.
Right.
And I read it. Most people, that was like one of the first things they read of Stephen King. But
that was
really,
my first book.
Yeah. But yeah, that was how I was drawn into it, was that. And then I've really grown to view him as just like a literary writer versus like a horror writer. It's weird because I just feel like his skill kind of outweighs the genre. He's not genre specific in the way that he writes.
No,
he just writes based on whatever comes to consciousness.
Yeah.
So that's something I admire about his writing. But I mean, as far as his novels, I mean, that's really kind of what drew me into him as an author. And then it was a rabbit hole from there. His material just sucks you in, and I've read pretty much everything now, other than I haven't read Cujo. I know that's crazy. I haven't read. I know. I haven't read Carrie either, believe it or not. What's another really popular one that I haven't read that everybody's like, what? Gerald's Game. I haven't read that. But that's pretty much it. I think for the most part, I've read as much as I could. I'm sure there's plenty more that I haven't read, Cycle of the Werewolf. I don't think I've read that.
I've read them all. I've read pretty much everything that I can get my hands on.
Yeah, right. Well, because there's so much obscure stuff too that I'm sure comes out that I don't know of him.
I was saying, he just, when you say there's not a particular, I mean, he started out predominantly with horror, but it hasn't really, he's transcended that. I mean, he does stick to supernatural a lot, but
for sure,
he really does write a lot of different stuff. He does. I mean, he's a good writer.
It's amazing.
He's the most collectible and read author right now in the world. There's a reason for that.
For sure. I mean, I really admire that about him. That he's just, the versatility is there. And for me, like I just, that's what pulled me in, is that when I started reading him, I was like, I've never been a Clive Barker guy, right? I like some of his stuff. I read The Hellbound Heart, and then a couple of other ones that I kind of like that were more sci-fi than they were horror, but short stories from him. But I've never really been into like the horror genre. But what I noticed when I got into reading King was that it was just, it brings you more into the characters, and then that versus like that visceral horror, which he does use from time to time, obviously, but that like Pet Sematary, for example, the raw fear as a parent that evokes in you from that book. Like, it's just, I don't know that it didn't impact me when I read it when I was younger, but now I'm a parent, and wow, it just hits you like a ton of bricks.
he's really good. Insomnia is a great one. Really impacted me of a fear of growing old. That deals with age. And one thing that you're a very rare reader in this respect that you started with the Dark Tower. Most Stephen King fanatics or fans or turned into such, they don't start with the Dark Tower. They end with it. And that's a real shame. And the reason I say that is because if you were a fan early enough, I'm going to say, 80s, especially if you were right from the get-go, of course. But I was young enough, grade 9, reading it. I think it was 1990. I got my hands on it. I wasn't allowed to read it at home. I would legitimately get a detention so I could stay after school and read the book. I kept it in my desk. I would get in trouble to be forced to stay. I'd get in trouble for that so I could read. I read it on.
That's awesome.
Because it's like 1,200 pages. Yeah. So it was but I had the luxury of reading the books as they came out. And if you had that luxury, some books would really blow you away because I don't want to say just in case a reader or a listener would read, but one book particularly, I mean, you didn't know until the last few paragraphs that entire book, and you probably know what I'm talking about, had to do with the Dark Tower. And I remember just like, whoa. And I was so invested in the Dark Tower because I'd read it as it came out. So that fit right into the timeline because he writes them into the timeline. So, I mean, I didn't collect back then, but I read everything I get my hands on. And then I was like, I got to get the old stuff and from Carry On. So I've read it all. I've enjoyed most of it. The only one I really didn't like and had struggled with was Dr. Sleep. I didn't like it.
Really? That's crazy. Yeah, that was one of the ones that I really kind of connected to.
Like
I've heard that before.
Weird.
I've heard that, and other people with Duma Key, same thing. Other people just don't like it, and I connected so much with that one. That is my favorite novel. Right?
Yeah, right.
I lived in Florida for a little while, and I only like 4 months, but I worked in a restaurant there, and kind of it was kind of like retirement for 4 months. It was weird. Like I went down there thinking I was going to move down there, and I came right back to New Hampshire. It's not my thing.
I will. Our family has a home down there. We just got it 2 years ago, so we will spend winters there. I mean, I love Florida. I mean, I'm in Nova Scotia. It's a little cold here now, but same as what you're kind of weather you're having probably. But
gotta love that northeast kind of.
Yeah, northeast weather. It's all the same.
Right on the jet stream there. So they brings us all kinds of nasty nor'easters and whatnot. But yeah, the Florida thing was, it's one of those things for people up here. They're like, I mean, and I can totally relate going down there during the winter, staying up here during the summer and the fall. Like it definitely, it's what I would rather do than.
Canadians are big snowbirds. So a lot of, if you can afford to do it, we're not rich by any means, but we've worked hard to get what we got. And her father has owns the companies I work for, so he bought a place, and we're gonna hopefully use it.
Well, and I think that's a common thing with New Englanders too. Like they very much so snowbirds. Right. Like it's and my parents were too. That's how I ended up down there.
Okay.
My parents worked for Pan Am Airways at the time. Now it's Railways, and they flipped with what's the other? Boston and Maine used to be the rail company. Pan Am used to be the flight company, and then they switched. Now it's Boston and Maine running the air, and Pan Am's running the rail system. And they were working at Sanford, Orlando, Florida, the airport there for a little while. So I lived down there for 4 months. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the very blatant racism. I couldn't deal with the heat. I couldn't deal with the bugs. I couldn't deal with fucking panthers in the woods.
Alligators.
Yeah, absolutely. The alligators. My neighbor's cat got killed by an alligator, taken right out. Yeah, he saw it happen too. It was really nasty, I guess. And we had outdoor cats down there. I told my mom, like, what are you thinking? Like, keep them in here. They're not going to survive. They're used to New Hampshire. They're going to have no clue that thing's going to snatch them right up.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I got off a little topic there on the Florida thing, but Duma Key is I could relate now because I read it after I was down there, right?
Yes.
But I remember what it was like to be down there, and I just made that connection so much. So when I read it now, I think that for me, it's really just the connection to the character. Edgar is such a really good, well-built character, I think, and his relationship with Wireman, I just think it really gets you, I think, in the way that you can connect to somebody that's having this kind of slow confusion of what's going on, in reality, and their own experiences have just been jarring up until that point, and it doesn't change. I'm not to, no spoiler alerts here, obviously, but just
Right.
I think that it's just the ups and downs that character goes through. It just seems so reminiscent of real life for me, and just that, like that monologue in the beginning about you know putting the line to the paper and creating reality, that memory is a blank canvas of white, and that in order to create reality, it's like putting pen to the paper. And I just that really stuck with me a lot, to the point where I really just I've read that a couple of times, so I really enjoy that book a lot. But
I've read most of his books a couple of times. I've
really?
read most, I would say almost all of them at least twice. Yeah.
So I've only read Doomickey twice, and then
Twice.
a couple of short stories twice. Like the John, I read like 3 or 4 times because I really like that short story a lot. And then The Dark Tower a ton of times, but everything else has been like once through, because I'm still fairly new to King in the last 5 years, literary, like in abundance. I read, it when I was younger, The Dark Tower when I was younger, but I had a hard time with the horror piece because I was more into like sci-fi. So I got a lot into, I read a lot of Robert Heinlein and a lot of Asimov, and then even Michael Crichton and stuff really kind of caught my attention. But King, I've been addicted to reading everything that comes at, everything that I can read of his. I just barrel through it, except for a few that I've kind of dragged on.
I'll have his new book later, probably in my hands next week. So,
oh my god,
because I review some of the arcs, of the advanced reader copy. So I'm finishing up Three Body Problem. I'm sure you've read that, being a sci-fi guy.
Yep.
By Chin. Yeah, and I'll be diving. I'm not going to start anything until it arrives. I know it's sent. I know it's shipped. So
yeah,
and I'll be careful because it's a collectible, as well, and I collect, but. I got to read it. I can't wait.
You got to read
March.
it. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't blame you. You're so lucky, man. I'm so envious. You don't even know.
Yeah. So he
awesome.
Did with Titan Books and Hard Case Crime. He's done Colorado Kid, Joyland, and now this one, which are all delve into a detective style feel. I mean, if you've read those other two, you'll know. So I expect this to be very much the same, with very little supernatural or none. Elements
so kind of gumshoe kind of detective stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're familiar with that kind of what they produce, I mean, that's I think King likes doing that every once in a while. So
yeah,
and I know, you can, if you search my name on the internet, and it's KRIS, you'll there's a lot of stuff between me and King. I've been involved in heavily, as you know. I run a couple big sites and stuff, but one I seen him in 2015, and he was taking questions. No, 2017 in Sarasota, and I stood right up, and the videos of me, and I just said, "Look, you got to do us a favor. Tell me the truth. Will there or will there not be one more Dark Tower novel?" And
that was you. That was you. And he, no way. Yeah, and he said there will be. There'll be gonna be another one. I can't believe that's you. That blows my mind. I love it.
Well, yeah, that was me. So, and I, these.
Thank you for all the readers out there. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, he's always said, and if you read, I watch, of course, his interviews. I mean, I find King to be a fascinating guy, and at times, he does things that I don't agree with, but he really does love, his magnum opus has been The Dark Tower. He's tried to connect somewhere around 65% of his books to it. So,
Yeah.
for him to not to delve into it anymore, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. He's not done writing. He's putting 2 books a year out and has for now a while. Why wouldn't he? Why?
Oh, he absolutely will. Yeah.
I believe that we're going to get that. Part of me thinks King wrote Finders Keepers, and I think King has written a lot of books that will come, but only after his demise. I think you're going to see books released after his demise.
Posthumously stuff, really, yeah.
Yeah,
really.
I also think he's got, I know, like Space Invaders and a bunch of other old books he wrote in the 70s he don't think are good enough, which are probably good enough for us, the Fiends, I think that his wife or family will release those. I wouldn't be surprised if there's releases of King for years after his demise. But King's about 74 and actively writing. He writes at least 4 hours a day,
fervently.
At least every day. Every day. He's already written a book. I already believe this Dark Tower book is done. I believe it's done, sealed, signed, delivered. And I really thought we would get it in 2019. I thought we would get it in 2019.
I thought so too.
I was wrong. But I believe that now he may release that upon his death. I have a feeling that'll be one of his last full-fledged novel. There'll be a lot of smaller stuff.
That'd be crushing, though.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. He's like I say, he's written that. I know he's written a book about a cruise ship. And something goes on, some people go missing or something on a cruise ship. I know that's done or close to done. I know that Dark Tower book is done. I just know it. And I think he's got another book he's done.
Well, the stuff also that connects with the Gwendy series with Rich Chismar there.
He's worked on the final one Stephen King's involved with. So
yeah,
I wasn't a huge fan. I liked the first one. I never read the second one because
oh my gosh, I really like it a lot. I dug right into that, and that led me kind of down the spiral into reading Along December and the rest of Rich's work. And I've become a really big fan of his, actually, and I've been talking to him about coming on the show. It's super busy, obviously, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to talk to him at some point, just because I've really been blown away by how much it really did attach. The short story portion of his work has really caught my attention a lot, just because I really like short stories. So
Richard's a great guy. Richard, I talked to Richard. He has, I don't know how much you're going to get into that, but I do a lot of hunting of books for people, like rare books and stuff. As people, I do a lot of searching and finding. And Richard's contacted me to search out some rare stuff for him. Surprised you wouldn't call King himself, where they're pals, but it's probably stuff King can't even access himself. Hoping one day I get the call from Mr. King looking for something. Now that would be something.
That would be something. But I imagine that's the case. With rare.
Something what King didn't save it. King didn't save something. Like, I remember there's a story, and if you're ever in Bangor, I highly recommend it to take the. I
used to be there once a month with my old job, man. I used to be there all the time.
Did you ever take the Stew Tanker tour? Have you ever done it?
No, I didn't. I just made my own little.
No, go take the tour. Stu Tanker used to own Betts Books. So Betts Books now owned by David Williamson, where a lot of fans go for their stuff.
Yeah.
Anyone watching the show. Yeah. So, any fan that's a King collector's knows Betts Books. Betts had an actual storefront. And King thought that was pretty cool back in the day. And King used to go, and this is I took a tour and got one side of the story, and then I got the side from old time collectors. But King used to go into that little store on Main Street, and he'd sign books for Stu all the time. And this happened, quite often. Then King wanted to give Naomi, who's his daughter, I think this is probably the early 90s. He wanted to give him the first 12 books or so that he had written in pristine condition. So he said, I want you to find me these books as best as you can, as new as you can. I want to give them to him for Christmas present. I'm going to personalize each one and whatever for my daughter. She's getting older now. At the time, she would be, near 20s or whatever. So Stu went after it to try to get this done, right? And he said, yeah, I'm going to make this happen. So Stu found them all, and he found a carry that was immaculate. The guy wanted $700 for the carry. And Stu said I think, and back then, Stu said, that's a lot of money. I think it's a $400 book. King goes, is it perfect? Yep, buy it. So he went to get it from the guy. And then in the meantime, or he got it for the guy, but he also was bidding on an auction or somewhere else he had gotten this other copy that was flawless. Well, the copy that he got, King happened to see it on a newly born eBay just started, whenever eBay had just started, and King had seen the copy on there that Stu had for sale on eBay for, I think it was $900 or $1,000. It wasn't a huge markup, but that made him, King hates eBay. He hates eBay. That's one of the reasons he doesn't like signing books, is because he thinks they just get flipped on eBay, which they do. Yeah. He was really, really upset, and he stopped signing for Stu. And Stu will kind of tell you that story, to a point, but there's that not really that King was mad at him, but King was wild about it. Stu told me the story right up until about then, and he'll tell you on that tour, and he'll take you to all the little spots around Bangor that gave inspiration for the books. But he's got really cool anecdotes, and that's one of them about this whole finding King these books. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
that is awesome. I find it fascinating because I'm new to collecting. I had a few that I sat on for a long time, just kind of had for a while. The was it the old Plume runs of the paperbacks there. Those are in pretty good condition back from when I was a kid, because that's the ones that I read, and I actually was surprised to see that they weren't super. I didn't kill them, running them through. I only run through them twice, I guess. So, but I was really psyched to find those, and then I just started picking up stuff free. And then I realized, a lot of them were like first editions, and they're, for whatever reason, I was getting some really decent, books for free that were just people just giving away, and I started to collect them. And I had a couple already, I had, I think it was from the Wolves of the Calla up. No, Wizard and Glass up. Right. I already had Wizard and Glass. And that was probably the nicest one I got, in really, really good condition. First edition for free, completely in a box. And I'm just like blown away by it. The woman gave it to me, a whole bunch of stuff. And, paperbacks and all kinds of stuff. And that's what really started me getting into, some collecting some of the other ones. And I, talked to you a couple of times about like getting the dust jacket there for that other one that I kind of got, paid a little bit more for than I wanted to, but I'm happy with it, keeping it, and I put it up for what I paid for it and see if it goes. If it goes, then I'll sell it and try to get one that's a little, I didn't lose my shirt on, but it's a matter of, I don't really want to roll that over onto somebody else, but it's like at the same time, if somebody wants to buy it for what I had it for, I'm pretty transparent about anybody. If they ask me questions, I go, yeah, I paid a little bit more for it. If you want to buy it for that price point, because I showed you the one that had the little, I know you probably talked to a lot of people, so you may not remember, but it had the crappy book plate inside of it. Somebody put a book plate with an owl or some shit on the inside, and I ended up, getting it for, this is like $5.95. So I put it up on eBay, which I know like people are kind of like hesitant about, but it's like, I kind of need the money right now and I don't want to lose what I paid for it. So I put it up but at the same time, I don't mind sitting on it. So, kind of stuck in between. But I put it up for $650 because I put a reserve on it and they charge us $50 or whatever. So basically covers the reserve and the thing. And I've had a few people come fairly close to it, but I'm not looking to make money off it. I just don't want to lose money either.
No, losing money is
but I want a better version, and put that sleeve that I got from you on it.
Every book in my collection is is pristine. I don't think there's,
Mm-hmm.
I just, as you know, you on the site, I just packed them all up, and it
Yeah.
took 28 hours.
Oh my
I
God.
timed it to pack each book and each piece of King related artwork, pack it all up.
Beautiful
That
stuff,
doesn't
by the
include
way.
moving. That's just packing it. So yeah, I mean, having a copy that's pristine and perfect is I mean, is, you know, anything
Yeah,
in
it's
collecting, the
awesome.
better quality it is
For sure.
you know, it's important. That's definitely
But
important. So.
I can relate to the with a lot of collectors for sentimental stuff and like the attachment, the physical attachment to it. Because for me, the Dark Tower thing was I really just wanted to have that run. Like I don't want to go crazy with everything because it's a rabbit hole and you can
It
really
is.
just
It's limitless.
yeah.
I still don't
And
have everything. I have a
right,
massive collection. I have
I
over a
know
thousand items,
it's
over a
amazing.
thousand items,
Oh,
and I don't have them all. I
the
still,
wheel in
I'm
art,
working with.
man, the wheel in art. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, and it's never ending, you know. And like just last night, I'm speaking with a guy in Australia working on buying a lettered gunslinger, which I don't have. It's a $10,000 book, US. I mean, it's not a cheap book, and
Wow.
I'm hesitant to pay that, and I am
Yeah.
because I don't believe it's a $10,000 book. It's no different than the first edition, other than the designation page and the boards.
Really?
Like it's no different. It's identical to the signed limited, which sells for 6 to 7 thousand. It's identical, other
That's
than
what
it's
S
got a letter
slash L
instead of a
means,
number.
right?
Signed limited, right? Yeah, that's
Okay.
what signed limited. So, you know, do I want to pay 10 grand? So we're entering in negotiations now. So he's got a collection that I might buy and sell to the group, like you see me
Yeah.
do, and that's how I've grown. I mean, I make a modest living. I live in a small place, but second kind of
Oh man,
job
you hooked me
is
up on that
obviously.
sleeve, man. That was great.
Mm,
Thank you. That was a great
mm,
deal. I'm like,
yeah,
wow, man, thank you. And I think what you do is over there, what you guys are doing with the page and stuff, is I think fantastic. So,
well, it's making a
but
lot of new collectors.
mhm,
It's got its double-edged sword. You know, I could find anything a year and 2 years ago, but that now it's 30 some hundred members and some hard. You know, they're going after those books too, and like the
sure.
double day first. You know, you could buy a Shining for $300 or $400. A nice copy now it's 1,000. Like Salem's Lot, it's a prime example. A second Salem, second state, I could buy all day for $500-600. That same book today is near 3,000. Like that's and that we're talking a year and a half. We're talking like very.
Really?
It's in, David listed that sale last Friday night,
Holy shit.
and he had 28 requests, I think, for the second Salem's that he had listed.
Wow.
28 people. I
I
want it.
think I think your
I want it.
finger might be covering the microphone a little bit there.
Oh,
Just
sorry,
because.
sorry. Yeah,
No, it's
it
okay.
might have
Go
been
ahead.
on the phone.
It happens.
So yeah, 28 requests. I only know that because I won it. I was there ready to because I
Yeah,
don't have one.
I
I do
bet.
not have a fine condition one. So we'll see. It arrives tomorrow. My fingers are crossed that
That's
it
awesome.
is a nice copy, you know, because that's a lot of problem in today's society too with collectors, especially book collectors. Like,
Sure.
oh, this is near fine, or this is fine, or very good.
Hmm.
I, you know,
And they have no
first
clue.
off, they have no clue. Books that are made 45 years ago are not going to be fine or very fine. They're
It's impossible.
not. It's impossible. The
Hmm.
oxidization on the pages, the foxing, there's just no way that's
And
going to
even in
you're going
shrink
to.
wrap, like you said, if he keeps in shrink, then it can actually be worse for the book than
Right.
staying
Oh,
out.
yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
people are like, well, it's
Moisture.
in shrink. It's like that's actually not good. Been in shrink
It's
for
actually
40
bad.
years. That's
You know,
terrible.
shrink wrap is not archival. They only use that to ship, and it's
Yeah.
just a shipping method, and it should be
Yep.
removed as soon as you get the book. You know, it traps moisture.
Listeners, all our
You
listeners
know,
out there, pay attention.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, to try and find that perfect book is probably not going to happen. Even my carry, as flawless as it looks, has
Sure.
imperfections, and I look for those. You know, my stand and night shift are, I would say, are as close as you're going to get to find.
That's awesome.
You know, like they look new, but Salem's and Shining have eluded me because the jackets are notorious for chipping, and shining is notorious for fading. So a lot of people don't realize, they think that at the bottom of the spine, that the line or whatever in the it's supposed to be green, bright green,
Yeah.
like
Right.
like it's trying to think of what the word is for the hedges or whatever. Topiary or what are they? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I
In the
do. I do.
Shining,
I can't think of the word either.
I can't think of a name. So, but anyway, it's green and it's
Topiary?
blue. Topiary, yeah, something like that.
Topiary, yeah, I
And it's
think that's
blue,
right.
and that's caused by sun fade. And because of, Stephen King's books back then,
How does it get through the jacket?
It goes. The jacket is always spine facing out. So everyone back in the day, people would leave their books all out on their shelf, looking great.
Yeah.
The light would come in from that bedroom or that spare room or that
right
living
through the
room
jacket
every day, and it would take that jacket, and it would fade it out. It would just fade it and fade it and fade it. And Gunslinger's notorious for it too. The gunslinger on the spine will be, if you look at the one you have, it's bright yellow. Many are not. They're actually very they're washed out, almost like a white. That's not supposed to be. So
that's funny that you said that. The one that I have now, the sleeve on it, it's a little beat up. It's kind of chewed up a little bit on the sleeve, but the book actually is in pretty decent condition, considering it has that stupid what's it called in there, the book plate. But the jacket actually has yellow for you're talking about the lettering, right?
Yeah, that was kept in a dark room, or a
surprising.
drawer, or a box.
Yeah.
Another one, Cycle the Werewolf, famous for spine fade. But The Shining was a very famous one. And then around The Shining, there's supposed to be a yellow glow, and it almost always washes out first. So
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that. I read that online.
Big issue. And you got to learn to look at those things. Like people not trained to look at them, and that's what part of the reason I started that group. There were so many collectors that were paying for fake signatures, and King is the most forged author in the world by probably double everyone else combined.
Idea. I really had no idea until
in the world. Yeah. He's the most forged author in the world. And that's a shame, because someone will go on eBay and they think, oh, yes, I've got this book. I loved reading this book. And then they go and they pay all this money and they have nothing. They've got a defaced book.
It's even worth less money than they would without it.
Much less. It's no good. So I wanted to start that group to try and to teach and help people learn and come and ask us. And there's guys in that group that are there's my father said to me many years ago when I started doing Stephen King stuff, he's like, oh, you're so into this. I said, yeah, I love it. I have a real passion for it. He said, if you do something every day for at least 1 hour, and you do it every day for 7 years, you're an expert. I said, well, why would you say that? He's like, that's just what they say. I said, so if I do this every day for an hour, and for 7 years, I'm an expert. Yep. Well, I've been doing this every day now for 10 years, and I do it for 4 to 6 hours a day. So I got to be something, according to my dad, right?
For sure. No, that makes actually a lot of sense. I never thought about it that way. That's really awesome way to look at it. An hour a day. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And you spend time studying how his signature, and it's changed. He wrote very beautiful signature in the 70s. And it got poorer as time went.
Right.
But if you study that stuff, then and eventually you get to see it, got to look at a signature and go, that's real, that's not. And people think, wow, it comes with a PSA or a certificate of authenticity. They're all garbage. As soon as a book has that, my spider sense is tingling that I already think it's not real.
Of course.
Because that's a way. It doesn't need it.
Right.
The certificates of authenticity are the biggest pile
more like a fucking red flag than it is anything, right?
It's a red flag rather than it's a flag in the play. Stop. Full stop. I'm going to look at that signature a lot harder now. Don't get me wrong. There are real ones that have it, but the majority that have it are not real. That is a way to hide the fact that it's fake, because you can sit at home on your printer and do one up. There's no, even if you use JSA or CSA, none of those, they're not King experts. They're not.
Right.
And I've discussed starting just having our group be able to do the guys, and I sit on a board.
I think that's a really great idea. For
well,
my
it is.
just
We
my
sit on.
personal 2 cents.
There's about 11 of us. That's 10 or 12 that sit on a private board to discuss signatures. And we've discussed doing something to help people, like, oh, these guys say it's real, then it's got to be real. But then there's liabilities with that. We're not sure if we're ready for that. So
sure. Yeah. Well, you should start a podcast. I know everybody says that, but for what you're doing, if you got a couple of people that are interested in it, get some basic USB mics and I don't do much editing on my end. I've got the little intro with music and then the outro with music. And I haven't really figured out the ad thing other than voluntary ads that I've, just free advertising that we've given out for people that we know. But we do almost no editing. And if you can devote an hour or so to your time to go over a topic every week, it's a really good way to get information out there. And people will excited to listen, because what you say is I think very good information for people to know. I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge, genuinely.
Thank you. I'd like to think.
Oh, thank you. It's been incredibly helpful for me not knowing a ton, and I'm humble with that stuff. I feel like there's a lot of times there's too many people that go into it that just they all act like they know what they're talking about without actually knowing. It's like that doesn't benefit them in any way. Like I've heard a lot of people that are just like, oh well, yada yada yada, and I'm just kind of like, well, why would you want to be overconfident about something? That personally, I just ran into a couple of things like online reading and stuff that it just sounds like a lot of nonsense, like the certificate of authenticity thing, like this guy arguing with another guy about needing to have that or else it's not worth anything. And the other guy's like, no, if it's a real signed book, it's legit and you can tell. You don't need that shit.
No, and a lot of people, I say, if you're ever worried about it, there's certain books you can't fake. They're sign limited. You can't fake them. You're not going to fake a letter. And
well, because you're not going to took that same book and brought it to somebody, brought it to King, say to get flat signed in person or something. Could that happen?
You could. I don't know who would spend the money to make a sign limited to try and forge orders to take to King. Plus, you're opening up a plethora of legal issues and troubles because you're doing something that's ISBN and that somebody owns. Like for instance, Misery. That limited edition and all of that, all the intellectual work that went with it is owned by Suntop. So how could you go and do that, right?
No, I've got it mixed up. You're talking about the ones that have the line that's printed by the author and then they go in and they sign it. Gotcha. Well, no, I'm just being like a flat signing. They just take the book that's say first edition first.
That happens all the time. That happens all the time.
That's different. I gotcha.
In all my years I've gone to many King signings. I've waited in line. I've traveled. I'm in Canada here, and I've dragged the wife. And all the time, King doesn't do much in person, and he hasn't for a long. And since 2013, I've been to one signing where I got to go in front of him. The rest of the time, the books are just pre-signed and handed out, and it's a shame, that he doesn't want to do that anymore. But he's sick of it. He doesn't really want to. He doesn't want the small talk with. He doesn't want that anymore. And you know what? I don't blame him. He's put his time in, man. Like, what I don't like that King does now, and I think I kind of mentioned earlier that a couple things I don't like is I think, I don't like how he won't, he gives, for instance, Suntop. He did Misery. Why won't he do another one with Suntop? And maybe he will. Or why is it always got to be all with Cemetery Dance? Why can't, or all PS Publishing? Why can't you go to Lyra Books or some of these other small press out there and get?
Does he still do Grant? Does he still do publishing through Grant?
He has an exclusive deal with Grant. So what happened was nobody back in 1981, he started to shop the Gunslinger around. No one would take it. Nobody was like, nope. Viking was like, I'm not publishing that book about a gunslinger and a kid and a desert with robots and a dark guy. Nope, it's not a good book. It's not a good book. No one would touch it.
Right.
So that King said, well, all right, So he started shopping it around. I'm gonna shop this around. Nobody would buy. Couldn't get script. None of them. None of the Doubleday didn't even want it. And he was kind of done with Doubleday at the time. That's a whole other story because of how they paid out their new authors back then. That's we could talk about that for half an hour. But at the time he was with Viking, and he said, okay, well, he didn't know what he was going to do. So he approached Grant Books, and Grant said, you know what? It's not bad. Let's get, we work with this artist, Michael Whalen. Let's throw him a script, which Michael Whalen has because I was at his house, and he told me the script for Gunslinger was right above my head in an attic.
Oh my God.
He still had it. And I'm like, can you go get it? And he didn't know where it was in a box. So I was like,
he's one of my favorite artists.
The artist.
Just period in general. That's amazing. You said that, and I'm just like, for real, man.
And he dug out, and he had, when I was there, he had a like a book, and it was a sketchbook, and he said, this is from 81 when I sketched the Gunslinger out before I did the artwork, and I still have it. And he ripped a page out of that book. I swear, I kid you not, and it's at home right now. And he ripped a page out of that book of the Dark Man, or of the Dark Man, and he's like, "This is one of the first drawings I ever did of him." And he gave it to me and signed it to Kris right there. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" My wife arranged that for my 40th birthday. I'm 44 now. It's 4 years ago, and he arranged all of that. Just one quick second.
Sure. No problem. No problem at all.
About the docket for Better Business Bureau, she has to order the envelopes, and she's all wound up. I told her where you were.
Well, just tell her it'd be 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I've had you on for a little bit. So I no, that's amazing. I personally am a huge fan of his work and have been since I was a kid, because I found him in the Gunslinger also, but he did was it The Cat Who Walked Through Walls or Friday, the covers for those Robert Heinlein novels when I was and that's what got me really into him. And then I saw all that stuff with the Dark Tower, and I absolutely my favorite artist of all time. That's amazing that you met him. That's really awesome story. And so I'm glad I got to talk to you about that.
Grant got the work to that, and they agreed to do it. And King said, "I'll make you a deal because you took the leap of faith with me. I'll give you all the books." So, as you know, right up until the last one they did went through the keyhole, Grant produced them. So that was a deal. And Robert Don Grant passed away years ago, but he still does work through Robert Weiner, who runs the press now. They're not very active. It's a small press. It doesn't do much anymore. Yeah. One thing a year. It's very, don't know how they're still operating, but King made allegiance to them for trusting in him, and he's kept that word. He produced a few other books with them, like The Talisman. He produced Black House, Desperation, Christine. They're off the top of my head. So he threw them a lot of work. He threw them a lot of business.
Yeah. I started the Talisman with my son just recently because I want to challenge him because he's way above his reading level. He's a little young for it, to be honest, but I think it makes him more intrigued because it's a little bit more exotic. I think that he likes the idea of that. But you need to be challenged. He's at almost a 6th grade reading level in a 4th grade. So I want to try to, challenge him as much as we can. And that seemed like a good way to start out, even though it can be a little extreme, I think, at some parts. I think no more than what they're absorbing right now in the internet. Right. So, exactly. The one thing you mentioned earlier, I wanted to touch base before you go. I know you got to leave. We were talking about Insomnia. And how
brilliant book. I loved it.
Amazing novel. And the thing that stuck with me, you're talking about kind of about getting old and whatnot. And the thing that really sticks with me, just because I've been really focusing on trying to be in the present, and not being so scattered and not being able to focus on where I'm at, what I'm doing in my life and everything. And the thing that stuck with me was that quote, each thing I do, I rush through so I can get through to do something, so I can do something else, I think it is. And as such, the days do pass, I think is the rest of it. And that quote, for some reason, just stuck with me. And like that you're rushing through everything to get to the next moment, and before you know it, you're Ralph Roberts' age, and
that's right. And time is gone.
Just being in the moment is everything. I think that's kind of a good thing, I guess, to end out on for the rest of the podcast. Is just kind of that feeling of impermanence, you know what I mean? And I think that there's something really great about the way King writes that feeling of not being so permanent, you know what I mean? Of just everything is kind of temporary in a lot of ways, and
it is, And one of his qualities that I just got to say that, when you're reading a book of King's, he generates feelings in you like that, like the fear of age, the fear of being a parent with watching a child die, or things like that. And when he ends every paragraph, and almost like every chapter, but almost every paragraph, on I've never met an author that Jeepers Creepers is going to go to bed, but I've got to read more. I have to keep going. He's a cliffhanger writer, and not only does he make you feel, and he makes you feel like you can, and no one that I've read can make you see what's around you. Like when I read The Dark Tower, I see that wasteland. I see that Blaine Mono. I see the City of Blood. I see in my mind. And Michael Whalen might bring it to life, but I can see it. And I want to read more and faster to get more. I have never read, and I read a lot, and I've never read another author that can make you feel and keep you reading and make you see like that guy can.
Same, absolutely. That I agree completely. I think that's what really blew me away with him, especially when I branched outside of The Dark Tower and whatnot. When you get heavy into character writing, like Under the Dome and stuff, it becomes more about character and less supernatural, more about the study of character. But
that's his best
kind
books.
Yeah, absolutely. That I feel the same way. Some people disagree, but for me, I agree. I think that thick story substance with the characters and people that you become attached to, is so much more of it keeps you, like you said, cliffhanger, right on the edge. But I think that if anything we need nowadays is a way to escape reality sometimes, and that's it. Being able to, oh fuck, man, it's been bananas lately. I absolutely adore the fact that King produces so much material so often. Like for me, that because I like you, he's probably the only person I really go out of my way to read all the time. If it's coming out, I'm reading it. Now Rich too, because he does a lot of that that King does, where it kind of draws you in. You can really visualize it, and you kind of want to stay reading it. But I mean, also for me, it's a short story kind of thing that I really love short stories. So, I really thank you for your time today. I can't thank you enough for coming on. This has been a great conversation, and look forward to doing it again soon. If you have some more time down the road, we'll get on and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it was great chatting, and I can talk King probably until I'm blue in the face. So
same, man, same. And I'll probably be reaching out regarding a couple of things I got on my list.
Yeah, anytime.
I mean, you pointed me in the direction of Julia. I think it was about that the Doom McKee with a Michael Stutzman signature in it.
Yes.
So I was really pumped to get that. That was such a great deal. So I can't thank you enough for that.
Sharing. It's not all about trying to just sell a book yourself. If you can, point someone to somebody else and get something that makes them happy, then why not make those people happy too, right?
That was really great, and I really appreciate it, because that's something that, like I was saying, I'm not going to go out of my way to collect everything, but there's certain things I do want, like the Dark Tower and really Doom and Key were my two,
Yeah.
Oh, and that one that you got me, the Marquee, the Remark.
Oh yeah.
can't remember that. Of Full Dark, no stars.
Yeah. Cool.
But thank you again, and as
welcome.
always, for our
Anytime.
listeners out there, we appreciate you guys listening in and across the country and some people across the world. So thank you again, as always. Abstract here, abstract there.
Abstract Transmissions.